Hey everybody, this is Frank Delvecchio and Mike Giletto. We are the GMs of the Arizona Coyotes and Carolina Hurricanes, and we want to go ahead and put this little podcast together to kind of give some lead updates. We're going to go ahead and call it the General Managers Insider. We're going to go ahead and get some guest speakers. We're going to bring the general managers from the league in to go ahead and talk with us, maybe about some like inside scoops of what's going on with their team. So let's get right to it. Mike, let's talk about some of the big free agent contracts that went out this offseason.
Money's all over the place. Money all over the place.
This is a league full of Scrooge McDucks. If I say so myself, my eyes started seeing dollar signs when I started seeing these signings go out.
First, let's talk about the big one. Getting paid, Ben Bishop.
Ben Bishop, the 6'7" goalie, going to be collecting $10 million a year for 6 years.
No, just north of $10 million.
I don't know if I've ever seen anybody that's 6'7" walk after 30, let alone play goalie. But
hell of a goaltender, though. Hell of a goaltender. I'll give him that. But I mean, the way free agency, played out this offseason, you got to spend to get the big fish. So
absolutely. And I put my hands together for some of these teams that put these packages together because they're really going out on a limb, trying to go ahead and bring some competitive hockey into the league to where maybe in the past a few of the teams were a little more imbalanced than others. But the big ones we're going to go over today. We have Jason Spezza signing with the Ducks, David Krejci with the Blackhawks, of course Ben Bishop signing with the Panthers, Bobby Ryan with the Kings, Jaromir, the ageless wonder Yager, signing with the Flyers for a $9 million deal for 1 year with the Flyers. So we'll see how many Twitter pictures we see with him with 18-year-olds coming up this year, because he's going to be making that money fly down in AC. We got Corey Schneider picking up $8 million, almost $9 million a year from the Sharks, which basically made Corey Crawford expendable. And then Nick Holden, which from my eyes is probably the best deal of the bunch. $7 million. You're locking in a 29-year-old defender. He moved the puck a little bit. He'll bang around a little bit.
A little high for my liking, but I mean, again, the way the market was this offseason, I mean, that's what teams were willing to pay for top four defensemen.
Absolutely, and I've talked to the GM of the Blues, and one thing he's saying is he's really trying to get some talent into the lineup. He took over the team, not a whole lot of talent there, and really is trying to just get some talent in there. 29's not young, but he's really not over the hill. Finish up at 35 years old, and really we see a defender's best hockey start probably 28, 29 years old, leading into early 30s. So relatively good deal there. A little high, but he's got the money, so I really don't see anything.
True.
Seeing anything.
Let's talk about the first one. That you said, the Jason Spezza deal. I mean, $8.4 million over 5 years for a 33-year-old center.
So that's going to take him until he's 38, playing with the Ducks. We'll see what happens there. I mean, one of the values of Spezza is his defensive play. I mean, he can score, but he can also lock down.
Great two-way guy.
So I mean,
I don't know where. I think with the Ducks, I think he'll slot in right at the top, number one center. So. They found their guy.
He'll start, maybe definite number one center.
Yeah, I mean, maybe play along, Corey Perry and Zach Parise. I mean, it's a solid first line.
That'll be a very solid line. I could see kind of towards the end of that contract him sliding into that second line defensive center that we see maybe like Ryan Kessler play a lot of times, where he's taking a lot of the defensive zone face-off, things like that. But it's a relatively solid deal for the first few years of it. I'd like to see how it works out towards the end of it.
I mean, to be honest, do you see him being a Duck and after the 5 years are up?
I don't.
Yeah, I mean, chances are that contract's going to get moved. I think he's going to,
I don't think that contract's going to get moved. I think we're going to see Spezza probably about 36 years old retire.
Okay.
So in reality, that's becoming maybe like a 3-year contract. I'm thinking 4 at max. I'd be very hard pressed to see that play out at a 5. And you know what? That could have been part of the strategy. Thinking about it.
Yeah.
You get someone 33 years old right at that cusp of having some of those restrictions on year length, and maybe he was able to get Spezza on a cheap 3-year deal for $8 million a year. I would have considered that.
And then that moves right along to the next one, David Krejci. I think this is a terrific deal for the Blackhawks. I mean, lock up a number one center. I know myself, I went after him. I didn't have the money to pay $7.5 million, but I mean, go to a cup finalist in the Blackhawks. I mean.
Yeah,
going to get a chance to win another cup. So,
yeah, they're going to be right in the running for another cup. I didn't see any huge losses coming from Blackhawks of any team in the league. They might be in the in the best cap situation. So I actually could see David Krejci playing out a 6-year deal.
Yeah,
At 30 years
he'll
old,
be
playing the 36 with the
36,
Blackhawks.
right?
It's going to be hard to move that contract just because I don't see the salary cap numbers really coming up too much in the next few years. But he definitely he could play out that contract. And again, he's a great two-way center. Worst case scenario, he gets a little older, the scoring dips a little bit. He'll wind up slotting right into right into the defensive lines. So that brings us to the big guy in net. Ben, I take up all the space, Bishop. I think it's a risky signing. I think it's high risk, high reward. I think Bishop's had a little bit of knee issues in the past,
and he got Vasilevsky, right behind him. So,
but I mean, if we're talking NHL, Ben Bishop's probably in his last year with Tampa is going to wind up somewhere else.
Yeah, possibly.
And I don't want to take my magic 8-ball out, but I wouldn't doubt we see Ben Bishop in some black, white, and green playing in Dallas in 2 years because
it's very possible.
I believe Niemi and Leighton's contract both end.
Yeah, and they need to find their goaltending sooner or later.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that eventually, and that could wind up being a steal for the Panthers if he winds up playing in the NHL on those teams. I mean, he'll just have great stats coming in our league. So, but again, we saw it. We were in free agency. You really have to pay to get these players and to get the talent on your team. You're always going to pay a premium for free agent players.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, that moves me to the next one. Bobby Ryan, $7.8 million over 6 years. I mean, for me, that's a little pricey. I mean, I know I was in the running for him, but to me personally, I think he's a second liner, an above average second liner. Maybe slot him on the first line. I mean, for him to be the top paid player on your team, I think is spending a little too much.
But in what we've seen spending wise, David Krejci's a number one center, went for 7 over 6. Bobby Ryan, if you're gonna say he's your first line winger, you pay $7.8 million. That's what we're seeing in this contract.
Yeah,
I'm wondering how inflation is gonna kind of take hold of this league. Are we gonna see something where a lot of the teams have a lot of top heavy contracts and then wind up having multiple ELCs?
Well, you're also seeing the cap hit. I mean, year after year, it's going up. So, I mean, where are we going to be at in the next 3-4 years? I don't know if it's going to keep continuing, to head north, or if it's just going to kind of level out. So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see, where the cap hit, goes with some of these contracts.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we're going to see the effect league-wide, salary cap-wise. We're going to see where people are at come 2-3 years. There were a lot of big signings. All of them aren't going to work out. I hate to kind of be the bearer of bad news. Some are going to be hits, some are going to be misses. But, are we going to be able to move a Corey Schneider making $8.8 million over 6 years? Are we going to be able to move a 35-year-old goaltender that's still playing pretty well? I don't see any
Schneider's
drop-off
a
coming
beast.
from Schneider.
I'm a huge fan of Schneider. I think he hasn't really had the team in front of him to succeed. I mean, his numbers are there. His wins aren't. That's just, a product of the team that he plays on.
But in our league, he absolutely does. He's going to be playing for the Sharks, who, I mean, I think everybody has to say is, is absolutely the
dark horse. Yeah.
I wouldn't even say the dark horse. I think they got the target on their back. I think everybody's going to be chasing them from behind. So I know I'm not too happy about having to play the Sharks that often and having to meet them in the postseason pretty early, possibly. But
yeah, I mean, I'm not in their division, so
Yeah. I mean, the team has speed. They have strength. I was looking at it. I was trying to look at his team, see where maybe I could find a weakness and kind of build around it.
They don't have one.
They don't have one. I was trying to put a big team together, be real physical. But I mean, his team has and hats off to Luke for putting together a team like that where they're definitely going to be contenders
for many years to come.
Absolutely,
for many years to come.
Let's say 3-4 years till a few of those ELCs expire,
exactly,
and then he's still eating $8.8 million on Schneider's contract.
So. Now, what do you think of the Yager deal? Making $9.5 million. It's only a 1-year deal, so it's not too risky in the
I'm gonna say I like it.
I do too.
I really like the Yager deal. He had the money to spend.
He'll probably play next to a guy like Matt Duchene.
Absolutely, he was deep in the playoffs, playing on a good team, and I don't think Jaromir Jagr could have asked for a better situation.
No.
He's really going into a good squad, good team. The Flyers could very well bring a Stanley home to Broad Street.
They could.
Absolutely.
Hopefully not. Hopefully I stand in the way, but
Yeah, we'll see those danger flags flying in Carolina. That's it for now. We'll be back with Steve Downs, GM of the Washington Capitals. This is Frank Delvecchio and Mike Giletto. We have Steve Downs on the line. He is GM of the Washington Capitals in the Dump and Chase Hockey League. This will be his first full season cycle, and we wanted to go ahead and get a little bit of an insight into what he's doing with his team and how he's going to go ahead and turn things around in Washington. So we'd like to go ahead and just give the line to Steve to just tell us a little bit about his team, a little bit of what we can expect from the team this coming year.
Okay, well, thanks, guys. Just to start off, I guess my team is from 1 year ago. It's completely different. I took it over in September of last year, and I think I only have 7 players that are from that original roster that I took over. It's been a blast trying to rebuild it and put my own touches on the team. Looking forward to this upcoming year, seeing if we can finally push into the playoffs.
Okay, Steve, I know you just made a trade for Dubnyk, and I really didn't see many other big pieces. I know you made the Sedin move, and Thornton was involved in that, but other than that, it was relatively quiet. What was the main reason for for being so quiet?
Well, it's funny you say that's being quiet. I'm pretty happy with picking up the players I got in those trades. Thornton is that number one center that I think everybody's coveting right now. Looking ahead into the free agency, I saw that Spezza was really the only big name center out there. So I wanted to get in and get that number one center before free agency. And as far as not a lot more many moves than that, well, it was a lot of my moves I had made during the year. I try not to make too many. I try to make big ones and right ones when I do make them. And the other thing was I was spending an enormous amount of time preparing for the draft. I really felt that was going to be important to my team going forward. I had 9 picks in the draft and really wanted to make the most out of each one. I'm not somebody who likes to go best player available, so I really wanted to put some thought and time into it.
Okay, so we hit upon who your biggest addition in the offseason was, but why don't you tell us a little bit about someone that you picked up in the draft that you think we should be keeping an eye on that might be a sleeper pick for you?
A sleeper pick? Okay, well, I mean, Jacob Chikrin going 14th overall, I was really happy getting him. I don't know if you'd call him a sleeper, though. My last 5 picks in the 6th and 7th rounds were Francis Perron he's an Ottawa Senators 7th round pick that from a few years ago that was left undrafted. Dryden Hunt, some of you guys may know from last year in the OHL, he had 4 hat tricks in 5 games. He's had over 100 points in the OHL. He went undrafted in the NHL, but he signed, I think, with the Rangers. My last 5 picks were all these guys. McCoy Urkamp from the Ottawa Senators, just a college guy that got picked up.
Okay. Who do you think? We already talked about your biggest addition. Who do you think your biggest loss is? The person that you lost, this offseason.
Well, the one I'm missing the most probably is Matt Bolesky. But he's a third line winger. Hendrik Sedin was a great player, but I easily replaced him with Joe Thornton. So it's hard to, I try not to look too much about what I've given up in a trade. I try to focus on more what I'm picking up. But I will say it was hard to trade Matt Bolesky. I just signed him long term as a restricted free agent, and
he tends to get in there on that third line and really kind of bang around a little bit, do some secondary scoring. He's a key piece to lose. But like you said, you're picking up Dubnyk, you're bringing Schultz in. I know Mike Smith and Dubnyk both have big contracts, so that's kind of a swap there. But you'll bring some help onto the blue line with Schultz.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and that's one thing I don't really need is a lot of help on the blue line. I think my defense is really strong. I think I've got 9 NHL caliber defensemen on my roster. So that's right now I'm trying to move one around and see if I can maybe get some winger to fill in for Bolesky.
Okay. So, who in your division do you not want to play this year? Who scares you a little bit?
Okay, Mike, you're in my division, right? You'll
Yes.
understand.
Yes,
Okay?
correct.
Our division is insane. Like
Yeah. Well, you saw a couple teams like the Rangers and the Devils kind of, they're trying to start fresh a little bit, so I feel like they're gonna fall off a little bit. But then guys like, I know Columbus just made a big move for Ovechkin. He picked up, I think, Tavares. I mean, he's got a solid team. I know the Flyers. I mean, they're not, they're gonna have a decent season as well. So
yeah, I want to make the playoffs, and I was
right,
once one of it. And for me to make it in, somebody's got to take a dip down. And I'm looking at the 4 teams ahead of me, going, who's really taking a drop here?
right.
Pittsburgh's got Crosby and Ben, and
That's insane. I forgot about Pittsburgh. Yeah, that's a
well,
filthy
they
first
got
line.
Crawford.
Yeah.
I
And
mean, do
our
we see
division is
possibly do we see a Hart Trophy and Hart Trophy and John Tavares' cabinet by the end of the year by maybe adding Ovechkin over there?
yeah, no, I think that's possible. And uh, every every game in my division is going to be it's so crazy. Like in our division, you could make the argument of which teams improved the most. You could make it for any of the 8 teams easily.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, can you give us a little peek into maybe some future moves you might be looking into? Kind of maybe just vocalize our trade block that we have going in Facebook. Is there, I know you said you're looking possibly for that third line winger. Anywhere, you're looking for some help.
Ekman Larson available? I know teams have been chasing him real hard.
You're the first person to ask for him, really.
Yeah, really.
Domi seemed to get lots of calls.
Right.
Not many people walk into a Lamborghini dealership asking for prices.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Exactly. What was the question again? Now I'm distracted here.
Any insight in the future moves? So basically, we're going to get a chance to kind of vocalize your trade block, maybe something you're looking to improve your team. I know you had mentioned you'd maybe be looking to ship some defense off for wingers, but anything else besides that?
Yeah, no, it's funny because the conversation that started with the trade I made to get Dubnyk was about trading Braden Coburn, and then we ended up cutting the deal with Dubnyk, and Coburn wasn't anywhere involved in it. So I'm always just looking to upgrade my team, and whatever players I can do or trade to make that happen, I'm open to that idea. Anybody on my roster is available for the right price, but I obviously have a very high price on Oliver Ekman Larson, Max Domi, any of my young defensemen that I've got, Jake McCabe, guys that I'm building the team around. So I don't know. I mean, I'm willing to trade anyone, but I definitely want to get another winger, perhaps upgrade my second or third lines.
Okay, I know exactly where you're coming from with that. I tell people all the time that I'm always open to hear trades, but I'd highly doubt we ever see Barkov or Kuznetsov in a different jersey in this league, especially with the team-friendly deals they're going to be on. So, Steve, we want to go ahead and thank you for being on today. You've been a great help with our inaugural broadcast, and we'll be in touch, man. Thank you very much.
Yeah, great. Thank you guys for doing this, and many more broadcasts to come.
Yep. Thanks, Steve. Appreciate it.
Yeah, take care, boys.
Thanks a lot, bud. Take care. Hey guys, welcome back. This is Frank Del Vecchio and Mike Giletto. We're going to be going over some of the off-season moves. We're going to be talking Ovechkin versus Tarasenko. Two of the premier wingers in the league get moved, some of them twice. Jonathan Quick, Corey Crawford, Boone Jenner, John Tavares, Victor Hedman, Patrick Hornquist.
Too many names. Too many names.
And the entire team that the Sharks are made of now, right? Kessler gets moved. It's we had kind of a crazy offseason. It was a little bit of a baptism by fire, but we're gonna go ahead and get into some of this now. So, Mike, let me ask you this: if I said I'll give you $20 million, would you give me Dan Hamhuis, Teddy Purcell, your first, second, fifth, and 2/4?
It depends what I use that $20 million for. I mean, Dan Hamhuis, I don't think necessarily makes or breaks your team, so I don't have a problem moving him. I mean, Teddy Purcell, he's a solid depth guy. Again, don't have a huge problem moving him. Be nice to have. Getting rid of a first and a second. Just it depends what you're using the $20 million for.
Well, that was the sign Carl Soderberg. He needed some cash, and
right.
He was in some dire straits cash wise, so he wanted to bring in a top line center, and if you can't get one, you got to buy one. But apparently now we have Scrooge McDuck owning the New York Rangers, buying a share of the Columbus Blue Jackets. But it's kind of odd for that to lead the segment. When we have Alexander Ovechkin traded twice.
I didn't see the first one come in, and the second one snuck up on me just as quick as the first one did.
So we have the Bruins giving up. So the GM, Matt McPherson, decides to move on from Ovechkin. He's getting a little up there in age, and I think that's about a $10 million cap hit.
Oh, is it that high? I don't think it's that high. I thought it was around $8 million. Is it around 10?
It's a $10 million cap hit.
Wow.
So, and I think it goes on until he's like 36, 37 years old. So
yeah.
It's a big hit to have, but
it is.
Guys that have the natural scoring ability,
he's an elite scorer, right?
He's going to keep scoring. The Jets give up Nicholas Backstrom, not the goalie.
No, I would hope not.
I wouldn't give anything for the goalie.
No. Maybe a bag of M&Ms.
Yeah, we have Klein, and the Sharks second. I think the Bruins got enough back to move Ovi.
I love Backstrom.
As do
number one center. I had him last year. Got me Petrangelo. But I had Backstrom last year. He's a terrific number one center. And I like Klein a lot, too. As, maybe a top 4, top 6 guy. He'll give you the minutes. He's a great defender. And you pick up a second-round pick. So I don't fault Matt at all for this move. I like it on his part.
It gives him flexibility in the future, too. I mean, when you have $10 million devoted to one player, you have 1/7 of your entire team devoted to one guy. And you have, 20 guys dressed? 21 guys dressed. So.
Well, I know times are dark in Boston right now. So, after their devastating, finals loss. So times are tough. He felt like he needed a change in scenery. So, I don't fault him at all. I like the return that he got for Ovechkin.
Yeah, I like it as well. It's always hard to move on from a legend, but when you get the return he did, I don't see a problem with it. Where I do kind of get a little bit of a headache is the cup of coffee he had in Winnipeg before getting shipped out to Columbus.
That move baffled me. The second one.
It did. It could have been a little buyer's remorse on the Jets.
The cap hit, right?
The cap hit. I mean, everybody wants Ovechkin, but to go ahead and pay him is the hard part.
Right.
He gets some stuff back. He gets James Neal back. He's got 2 years left on his contract.
Right.
He gets what do we say, Marchessault, who's
right.
Who's a younger guy,
gritty guy, right?
Gritty guy, Mikhail Backlund, and honestly a prospect, Boris Kachuk, that we're not too familiar with. But
my problem with this deal was I feel like he gave up more to get Ovechkin than he got to ship him out. That was my biggest issue with it, but.
He still does get James Neal.
Of course, yeah, no, he's a first liner.
He'll
be
there.
He'll be
first liner in return, who is half the cap hit. He gets Mikhail Backlund back.
Solid third line guy, right?
Marchessault.
Right.
And a prospect in return. So, I'm never going to go ahead and fault the guy for making a trade. It was a little head scratching for it to happen so fast.
Right.
But, we'll really see what happens.
Only time will tell.
James Neal could be a hell of a player for the Jets. I know they've added a lot of pieces there. They're making a lot of trades. So, Vinny and the Jets, we'll see how that goes. And, best of luck to him.
Absolutely.
We did have another blue chip winger get moved in Vladimir Tarasenko, who I possess in one of our other leagues, but um, you know, once again, the Sharks pick up the phone and get a deal done. And I don't know, Luke must do very well for himself because he talks the Rangers out of Vladimir Tarasenko for Jared Spurgeon, Marco Danos, Sam Bennett, who's got to be hard to give up because he hasn't even scratched the surface yet.
No, he's got a ton of potential.
Could this be a situation where 2 years down the line the Sharks are saying we should have held on to Sam Bennett?
With all the young talent they have, I don't see a way that they say that. I mean, they needed a premier first line guy. Now they have 1, 2, 3, 5 of them. So, I mean,
it's going to be interesting to see what happens out in San Jose. I think honestly, the only problem I see in San Jose is they only play with one puck.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
maybe a guy that would have 35 goals somewhere else has 20
right?
playing third line in
Yeah.
San Jose. They also do give up a second and third round pick in the deal, but Vladimir Tarasenko, he wows us on a daily basis.
He does. I'm happy he's out of my division. I'll be honest.
I'm not gonna lie. I was a little late picking up the phone. I saw Tarasenko was up for grabs.
Yeah.
Tried to make a trade, and it wasn't able to get stuff done.
No,
but
I'll be honest. I did try as well. Was not going to give up that much though. I just don't think I would have. But the Sharks have enough to give it up. I mean,
Sharks have it to give.
Exactly. He's done a terrific job. The full Sam Hickey tank is on. And we're finally starting to see it come into play and working out for him.
So one move that's slipped under the radar that I think a lot of people missed was Roman Josi is taking a trip to San Jose as well. He got kind of boggled down in that Corey Crawford deal. I know San Jose had picked up Crawford and then Schneider. So one of them had to go, and the only one eligible
ton of money
to be traded
to pay
was
for 2 goalies, right?
the only one eligible to be traded was Crawford. So he got shipped out to Pittsburgh in return for Roman Josi, which then again it was probably a great signing.
Yeah. I mean, I like that for both sides. I mean, I know Pittsburgh needed a definite upgrade in net. I mean, they have Pavlik, and they need a definite upgrade. I mean, Crawford has proved himself to be one of the best goalies in the league. So, I mean, and then on the other end, the Sharks get a number 1 defenseman to play alongside of, I mean, I think I'm going to go on here, Shea Weber.
Yeah.
I mean,
reunited.
Shea Weber, and I don't have the lineup in front of me, but I mean, the defensive core is stacked. I mean, to put Josi alongside of that is, I mean, just that much more impressive.
And we also had Jonathan Quick on the move in return for Sean Monahan and a few other pieces. So
I know that was a big move for you, yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
So who do you think's in a better position to succeed? I'm going to say Crawford.
I'm going to say Crawford now, and I think Quick in maybe 2 to 3 years.
That's a possibility.
I mean, I think Crawford, I mean, I think as good as Pittsburgh is going to be now, I don't think they have the necessary depth and the team-friendly contracts that are going to, benefit them in a couple years, as, Arizona, you guys do. The Kuznetsovs, the Barkovs, I mean, and then you got the young defenseman coming up that'll help Quick out as well. I mean, the only thing you'd hope for is his play not dipping with age. So if he can still be productive, in a couple of years, I think this is a terrific trade for you, sure.
One of the reasons I targeted Quick was he's one of the last stand-up goalies left, and they tend to be able to play until they're older than some of the butterfly guys. So
yeah,
a little bit of a calculated risk. We'll see how it turns. 30 years old. Very team-friendly contract. I think he's at about $5.5 million per year for the next 4 or 5 years. So we'll see how that goes. So one of the things everybody always loves to talk about was who overpaid and who got the deal of the century. So Columbus was able to pick up Tavares, but in the process gave up Victor Hedman, Patrick Hornqvist, and a second. I understand Jonathan Tavares. I know everything he is. He's a 24-year-old elite first-line center, but you're giving up a 26-year-old gigantic defender with an offensive upside, a second-round pick that was already picked. We didn't look into who that was, but and Patrick Hornqvist as well, who's I'd say he's kind of on the bottom, maybe like a bottom 1 to maybe a second-line wing, almost in kind of a Bobby Ryan mold. Maybe kind of not a 1, not good enough to be a 1, too good to be too.
Yeah,
so.
he's definitely a top 6 guy, for sure. I mean, Tavares is a beast, you know, but giving up Hedman, and that is a lot to give up for, you know, number one center. But I mean, like I said earlier in the show, we see the price of the number one center, and I mean, people covet him now a lot. So, you know, I don't fault either guy, you know, either team for this trade.
But let's look at the genius that is the Columbus Blue Jackets. So they give up Hedman and Hornqvist for a second, and then wind up picking up Alexander Ovechkin to pair with him.
Right.
So looking at that as a whole instead of, you know, 2 separate moves, he might wind up looking at a genius holding some hardware in his hands at the end of the year. So
right, and and then he made that Ekblad trade. So I mean, he's got a solid team for sure.
Absolutely. And one of the other things I'm getting some jabs at is giving up a first for Boone Jenner and a third in return. A lot of guys say 30 goals but only 13 assists last year in the NHL, so we'll see how that translates.
That's what you got Barkov and Kuznetsov for. So
exactly.
You know, I mean, they'll set him up, and he's a gritty guy to pair, you know, to go against the Sharks that you're going to see numerous times.
Again, and you know, I don't want this podcast to focus a lot about our teams, but so we'll quickly move on to that Rangers trade. Once again, we kind of opened with it and we'll close with it. So once again, we have $20 million going to the Blue Jackets in return for Dan Hamhuis, Teddy Purcell, a first, a second, a fifth, and 2 fourths. So, you know, just some things to kind of think about, some moves you can look at, and maybe arrange some other deals to work out well for your team. You know, we'll keep you guys updated. Write in on Facebook to let us know what you guys want to hear about, what GMs you want to hear from, and we'll go ahead and talk to you guys next week.